and things are being thrown. There's no room for this in the sport.
I feel like he a solid fighter. He getting better, but like I said, he ranked maybe I'm number one for sure, and he could be right under.
The particularly careful what like Crawford says for the most part, but do you kind of feel like some of his critiques to you are like, I don't know, maybe like hate a little bit? I know online he recently said that Fundora is the best guy at 154. He said Fundora would beat you. What do you like to thoughts on that?
Terence Crawford just shocked the entire press conference by allegedly shoving Jaron Ennis in front of everyone. Did Crawford really cross the line and turn a normal face-off into a full-blown boxing war between Ennis and Xander? What really happened after Crawford WALKED into the room? And why did security have to step in SO?
I don't pay no mind though. That stuff be bothering me, but like I said, I'm the best at 154.
The boxing world is absolutely exploding right now after what just went down at the Jaron Ennis and Xander Zaya's press conference at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And nobody's seen this coming because Terence Crawford himself walked in with zero warning and completely took over the entire event before pushing Ennis in one of the most shocking moments of 2026. This is not a story, and this is not being blown out of proportion, because multiple people who were standing inside that building on April 8th have confirmed that the retired pound-for-pound legend Terence Crawford walked into that press conference with one purpose, only to back Xander Zaya's, and ended up in a full physical confrontation with Jaron Ennis that had security running from every direction to pull them apart.
Never heard of him. See, me and Boots in the same way. No.
For real.
People who were inside the Barclays Center that day say Crawford didn't just show up to watch from the crowd. He allegedly came because he has been quietly training Xander Zayas behind closed doors, helping the young Puerto Rican champion get ready for the biggest night of his career against the most dangerous and avoided fighter in the entire division. Everything spiraled out of control so fast that even Eddie Hearn and top-ranked President Todd DuPont had no idea what was happening. What was supposed to be a simple promotional press conference turned into complete madness the second Crawford stepped into that room and made his presence felt.
It's a tough fight, especially for Xander at this point in his career, but it shows his heart and his confidence, that he has in himself, and he's ready to go make history for his country, and he's going to do real well in that fight. I just think,
Those close to the situation say Crawford has been putting in real work with Zayas in private training sessions for weeks now, passing on the same knowledge and game plans that made him one of the most dominant fighters of his era. And his sudden appearance at that press conference was no accident. It was a direct statement sent straight to Ennis that he is standing behind the wrong fighter when June 27th arrives.
But this feels like Mayweather-Canelo all over again. He's generational great who's going too early. But you have to give him his props. But this guy is different, and he will show how many more levels he's got. But he needs great fighters like Zayas to bring that out of him.
And I said,
The June 27th showdown between unified WBA and WBO junior middleweight champion Xander Zayas and challenger Jaron Boots Ennis is already being talked about as one of the most dangerous fights either of these men has ever stepped into, with two undefeated fighters putting absolutely everything on the line. Zayas, at only 23 years old, made history by becoming the youngest unified champion in boxing after beating Abaz Barrow by split decision right there in Puerto Rico earlier this year. And this kid has been absolutely running through the entire 154-pound division without slowing down. Meanwhile, Jaron Ennis has been destroying opponents for years with his terrifying power and sharp boxing skills, finishing 31 out of his 35 opponents, and building a reputation as the one fighter that absolutely nobody in the division wants any part of.
I'm growing, I'm getting better, I'm getting bigger. We keep controlling it. I have a great nutritionist team that work with me. They're ones that work with Terence Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, so they know what they're doing. And I believe in them throughout, my whole career.
And this is exactly where Terence Crawford allegedly enters the picture, because people connected to both sides say that Crawford personally reached out to Xander Zayas, his team, shortly after this fight was announced, and offered to help get the young champion fully prepared. According to those who have inside knowledge of this training setup, Crawford has been flying out to Florida, where Zayas works with his coach Jav Centine, and running highly specific sparring sessions built around one thing: only how to defeat Jaron Ennis. And multiple people claiming to have direct knowledge of these private sessions say that Crawford has been handing Zayas the exact game plan he himself would have used if he ever shared the ring with Boots, breaking down every weakness in his defense and every pattern he repeats on offense throughout his entire career.
I just feel that Jaron Ennis against Terence Crawford is the fight. And that can be at 54, it can be at 60. Obviously we've got Lima to take care of first, but that for me is one of the great, crossover fighters, because Boots is the changing of the guard guy, and Crawford's the guy that's been there and done it all and just proved, that he's still very...
The history behind all of this is absolutely critical, because Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis have been connected to a potential mega fight for years, with boxing fans never stopping to demand that matchup when both men were tearing through the welterweight division at the same time.
We don't know, because Terence is just
Somebody getting stopped.
I don't know. That
Crawford walked away from the sport on December 16, 2025, with a flawless 42-0 record after pulling off the stunning upset of defeating Canelo Alvarez to add yet another world title to his collection. He left boxing as without question the greatest fighter of his entire generation. But many people deep inside the sport believe that Crawford always considered Jaron Ennis unfinished business, because the two never got the chance to settle who was really the king of the welterweight division when both men were at the absolute peak of their powers.
Did you consider going back down to 154 and face Jaron Ennis, the guy who prepared Canelo Alvarez for this fight?
No, I ain't going down 154.
Crawford made it very clear after hanging up his gloves that he had absolutely zero interest in dropping back down to 154 pounds to take on Ennis, effectively shutting the door completely on that dream matchup ever taking place inside a boxing ring.
But you and Boots would be pretty good too.
Listen, I'm happily retired. Those was fights that could have happened when I was active, and I wish all those fighters good luck and much success.
Right. But insiders familiar with Crawford's thinking say the icon reportedly believes coaching Xander Zayas to beat Jaron Ennis lets him make his statement without stepping back into the ring or ending his own retirement again personally.
I'm not about what?
You don't want to fight.
You said I'm not about what?
You don't want to fight.
Man, go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Go ahead.
You dreaming, man. You talking in your dreams,
Don't
man.
want to fight. Yo, we asked for that fight plenty of times, yo.
When? When?
Plenty of times.
What's plenty? When?
Multiple sources. Ryan Garcia recently stirred attention by saying Jaron Boots Ennis would defeat Terence Crawford if they met, arguing Crawford never fought anyone with Boots' mix of youth, speed, and skill across his whole career. Those remarks reportedly frustrated Crawford deeply, since he spent years pursuing the hardest fights and elite rivals, only for critics to doubt his legacy once he stepped away for good now.
About Ennis against Crawford, right? What we can't do is diminish or disrespect what Terence has done. I mean, a true generational great of the sport. But if anyone's going to beat him, I believe we've got the guy to beat him. Now, we need to build Ennis into a fight.
Several reports indicate that Crawford chose to work with Xander partly to silence the growing claims that Jaron Ennis operates on a level beyond anyone Crawford has ever faced. Back in January 2026, Eddie Hearn even went on record predicting that Jaron Boots Ennis would take over as the pound-for-pound king from Terence Crawford within a year, labeling Boots as the next version of Crawford and stating, "We just need to line up the right fights to show it."
It's all good. It's all good.
I said, what's going on?
Stupid? You stupid? What changed you with me?
I said what's going on.
I said what's up. I said what's up.
I said what's going on.
I said what's up. I said what's up. All right. Yeah, I said.
Now the focus shifts to building Andes into a real fight, And that statement reportedly didn't go down well with Crawford either. Insiders say he feels Ennis has been carefully managed his entire career and still hasn't faced true elite competition the way Crawford had to. But here's where everything takes a crazy turn. Because what went down at the April 8 press conference at the Barclays Center completely flipped the storyline of this fight overnight.
Get in his face. He said he's going to rip your heart out.
Oh yeah, that's it. Oh, that's good.
That's what he said, didn't he?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
You believe it?
No, but he said it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you gotta say that.
He's a baby. He's a baby.
Based on several eyewitness accounts, the press conference was already intense, with Jaron Ennis and Xander going back and forth, throwing verbal jabs over who would come out on top on June 27th.
Xander Zayas is listed at 5'10 with a 74-inch arm reach. Boots is listed at 5'10 with a 74-inch arm reach. But clearly, as you see here, Xander Zayas is much bigger than Jaron Ennis. And shouts out to Marco.
Ennis started by saying Zas is basically in a fat camp right now, claiming the young champion is sitting around 190 pounds, and hinting that all the promo work and media pressure will drain him before fight night even comes. Boots also mentioned how Zas turned down a proposed 55-45 purse split for the winner, using that decision to question whether Xander truly believes he can win this fight. Zas fired right back, saying Ennis is overlooking him and will regret it. He pointed out that during their face-off, he was clearly the bigger man and promised he'll be even bigger when they step into the ring. The two fighters went chest to chest during the face-off, with Ennis repeatedly pointing his finger at the 23-year-old champion and stepping closer until officials had to jump in and pull them apart. That's when everything escalated. Sources say Terence Crawford walked into the press conference, and the energy in the room instantly shifted from normal hype to something far more intense. According to people who were there, Crawford moved straight toward the stage where Ennis and Zas were still being held back by security and staff. Several witnesses say Crawford first went up to Xander Zas and showed him respect with a quick dap, making it obvious he was there in support of the unified champion. Jaron Ennis looked surprised to see Crawford and reportedly questioned why the former champion was even there, saying this wasn't his fight. That's when, according to eyewitnesses, Crawford turned directly toward Boots Ennis and started talking. The exact words are still debated. Some claim Crawford told Ennis he's been training Xander to expose every weakness Boots has, and that June 27 will be a harsh reality check for boxing's so-called boogeyman. Others say it got more personal, with Crawford bringing up how Ennis never stepped up to fight him when he had the chance and now has to deal with his protege instead. Whatever was said, one thing is clear. Multiple witnesses agree that Jaron Ennis did not take it lightly and began moving toward Crawford in a way that looked ready to turn.
Well, everybody know, because everybody was quote-unquote calling me the email champ. So, with that being said, I never was able to, fight a world champion or take a world title from somebody. I was given the belt out of my hands. That was out of my hands,
According to people at the scene, this was the exact moment when Terence Crawford allegedly placed both hands on Jaron Ennis and pushed him backward to create space. Witnesses said it wasn't a wild shove, but it was firm, controlled, and clearly crossed the line from words into physical contact. Security and event staff rushed in immediately, stepping between Crawford and Jaron Ennis before things could go any further, while Eddie Hearn and both camps tried to calm everything down. The entire moment reportedly lasted under 30 seconds from Crawford's arrival to the separation, but that was enough. The impact was instant, and the boxing world hasn't stopped talking about it since. Clips and images from the press conference started spreading across social media, although most major outlets were focused on the main face-off and reportedly didn't capture the Crawford moment clearly. Still, multiple reporters and fans who were there confirmed online that Crawford did show up, and that contact with Ennis actually happened. One journalist posted right after that Crawford backing Zas, and then clashing with Boots was the most unexpected press conference moment all year. Another insider said the energy in the room flipped the second Crawford walked in, and you could feel the tension spike immediately. Now the real question is what this means for June 27 when Jaron Ennis steps in with Xander's, and how Crawford's presence changes everything. Analysts are split. Some believe having Terence Crawford involved as a behind-the-scenes weapon gives Xander's a real edge. Others think it's just hype to sell the fight bigger. Supporters argue Crawford's defensive mastery and elite ring IQ are exactly what Zas needs to slow down Andy's pressure and power. Throughout his career, Crawford made top fighters look average using movement, timing, and precision. If even a small part of that transfers to Zas, it could shift everything. There's also the detail that Crawford never took the Ennis fight at 154 after retiring, which suggests he fully understands how dangerous Boots is. That makes his decision to train Zas even more meaningful. Many believe Crawford wouldn't risk his name or legacy unless he truly saw something special in the young champion. But not everyone is convinced. Critics say this is all promotion. Jaron Ennis has been dominating high-level opponents for years, and plenty of experts still believe he's simply too big, too strong, too fast, and too skilled for a 23-year-old Xander's to deal with, no matter.
You know what, head movement, the Boots gonna be doing all that head moving and sliding, tucking and moving on angles and Boots, that's what Boots gonna attack his ass late. And Boots got power. He got major power, man.
Boots' father and trainer, Jaron Ennis, has openly said that his son performs on a level Zas hasn't experienced yet. And that kind of confidence shows they're not concerned at all about Crawford being involved.
I'm in boxing, man. You know what I mean? You only take one shot, you know what I mean? So, you gotta be careful, man. You gotta be on at all times, man. Cylinders gotta be working, man.
What kind of boost can we expect?
Eddie Hearn has been calling Jaron Boots, Ennis the future pound-for-pound king, predicting he'll prove it by dominating the junior middleweight division, starting with Zas. The purse split drama that Andy's mentioned at the press conference adds another layer to the story, showing that the mind games are already in motion. By turning down the 55-45 split for the winner, Zas is basically saying he doesn't need extra money to prove he's better than Boots. But Andy's is spinning it as fear and a lack of belief. Zas fired back, suggesting that maybe Andy should have offered that same 55-45 deal when he was lined up to fight Virgil Ortiz Jr., hinting that Boots talks big but doesn't always follow through. That Ortiz fight falling apart due to issues with Golden Boy Promotions is what created this Zas matchup in the first place, and it's still a sensitive topic for Ennis, who really wanted that fight. Now with Terence Crawford reportedly in Zas's corner, offering world-class strategy and guidance, the stakes for June 27 at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn have gone to another level. Todd Duboff from Top Rank called this a generational moment, with two young, undefeated fighters putting everything on the line in their prime. And Crawford's involvement only fuels that narrative even more. The press conference incident where Crawford allegedly shoved Boots added a personal edge that wasn't there before. This isn't just a fight anymore. It's starting to feel like a grudge match. Social media has exploded with reactions, with fans taking sides and arguing over whether Crawford's presence will actually matter, or if Boots is simply too much for Zas. One fan said Crawford training Zas is like unlocking cheat codes, because nobody understands elite-level boxing better than Bud. Another pushed back, saying Ennis has been avoided his whole career, and now that someone finally stepped up, they're bringing in a retired legend for help because they know just how dangerous Boots really is. This video is created for informational and educational purposes only, aimed at keeping the boxing audience updated. All opinions, commentary, and analysis are based on publicly available information, reports, and personal viewpoints. We follow YouTube's fair use policy under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, allowing use of content for commentary, criticism, and news reporting. We do not intend to harm any individual, fighter, or organization. Some parts of this video have been enhanced with the help of AI to make the content more unique, clear, and informative for viewers.